Good morning, class 9th. We are looking at chapter 1, the language of chemistry, and we will be revising this chapter further together. And in this chapter, children, let us remember in the last video 1, 2 days back, we revised about the symbols of elements, the qualitative and the quantitative meaning of the term symbol, and we revised that Berzelius, a chemist, suggested an easy way of writing elements in symbolic form. We revised also what valency is and examples of valencies of various radicals with positive and negative valencies. We revised what variable valency is. We revised in the last video the writing of a chemical formula, and we revised what elements and compounds are. And today we will revise further in video 2 about some characteristics of a compound. Compounds are always present in a definite proportion. Example, we see that iron sulfide is a compound, and in iron sulfide, children, the elements iron and sulfide, they combine in a definite proportion. Compound is always homogeneous because the components of the compound, they are put in definite proportion with each other. Then we see that particles of a compound are of one kind. Example, compound iron sulfide. Composition of FeS cannot be varied or changed. Hence, it has uniform composition throughout, which means that the components are not seen separately, as these are homogeneously put together. So we see that they are put together and they are knit together chemically in such a manner that the components cannot be seen or may not be seen separately. Then we see a compound has a definite set of properties which we will see in some time. We also see that the components in a compound, they do not retain their original properties and can be separated only by chemical means. For example, in water, hydrogen is inflammable and oxygen is a gas which helps in burning. But when hydrogen and oxygen, they are homogeneously put together, then we find the compound water, which is a fire extinguisher. Likewise, we see that in example of iron sulfide, the particles in iron sulfide, they are homogeneously put together. Then children, let us quickly see that the iron and sulfide particles, they are chemically combined, and so iron sulfide cannot be attracted by a magnet. That is one thing that we see, that iron sulfide cannot be attracted by a magnet. We see that, and it does not give H2 gas with dilute acid. That is another property that we see, that it does not give, iron sulfide does not give hydrogen gas with dilute acid. Then we see that sulfur present in iron sulfide is insoluble when we add a solvent like CS2 or carbon sulfide. Then sulfur is insoluble. Let us see the compound names. Let us see the names of compound and their chemical formula found on the page 5 of the table. And we see there are acids, bases, salts, hydrocarbons and alcohols that are given in this list. For example, children, let us study this together, that here acid Hydrochloric acid has got hydrogen and chlorine. It is written as HCl, the formula. In nitric acid, we see is composed of hydrogen, nitrogen and oxygen, and the formula is HNO3. In sulfuric acid, we see that the components or the elements are hydrogen, sulfur and oxygen, and the formula is H2SO4. In carbonic acid, we see that the elements are hydrogen, carbon and oxygen, and the formula is H2CO3. In phosphoric acid, we see that the elements in the compound are hydrogen, phosphorus and oxygen, and the formula is H3PO4. Likewise, for acetic acid, we see that the elements are carbon, hydrogen and oxygen, and the formula of acetic acid is CH3COOH. Then in bases, let us see potassium hydroxide with the elements potassium, oxygen and hydrogen, and the formula is KOH. In sodium hydroxide, which is another base, the elements in the compound are sodium, oxygen, hydrogen, and the formula is NaOH. Then in calcium hydroxide, we see the elements in the compound are calcium, oxygen and hydrogen, and the formula is CaOH whole twice. Then we see zinc hydroxide. We have elements zinc, oxygen and hydrogen, and the formula is ZnOH whole twice. Then we see magnesium hydroxide. We have magnesium, oxygen and hydrogen, and the formula is MgOH whole twice. Then let us take some salts. Lead nitrate has got lead, nitrogen and oxygen. Formula is PbNO3 whole twice. Then in potassium bromide, we see the elements of potassium and bromine, and the formula is KBr. Then in calcium chloride, children, we see that the elements in the compound are calcium and chlorine, and the formula is CaCl2. Likewise, we see there are other salts also. Let us now see some hydrocarbons like methane. The elements are carbon and hydrogen, and the formula is CH4. Likewise, in ethane, carbon and hydrogen elements, and formula C2H6. Likewise, in propane, the elements are carbon and hydrogen, and the formula is C3H8. Likewise, in butane, we see the elements are carbon and hydrogen again, and the formula is C4H10. Then children, we see in alcohols, in methanol, we have the elements carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and the formula is CH3OH. For ethanol, elements carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, formula C2H5OH. In propanol, we see that the elements are carbon, hydrogen and oxygen, and the formula is C3H7OH. So here we see so many compounds and so many formulas, so many chemical formulas of these compounds. So let us see how we can write the chemical formula of various compounds, children. In step 1, let us write the symbols of the positive atom on the left hand side and the negative atom on the right hand side. For example, we take sodium, which is a metal, and we take chlorine, which is a non-metal, on the right hand side. And now in step 2, we can put the valency number on the right hand top of the two symbols. For sodium, we put it as +1, which is the valency for sodium, and for chlorine we put the valency as -1. Then we see that in the third step, children, let us see the third step, children. And in the third step, what do we see, children? In the third step, we see that we interchange the valency number of each atom that we had put. This is irrespective of the positive and the negative charge. We just exchange the valency number. When we exchange the valency number of sodium and chlorine, we get sodium 1 valency here and chlorine 1 valency here of sodium passes on to the right hand side. Then we see in step 4 we write the formula NaCl. Likewise children, let us see another formula, how we write the chemical formula here. Here in first step we have the symbol of calcium Ca, and on the right hand side the symbol of sulfite SO3. In second step we put on the valencies of the two element symbols. For calcium we put the valency 2+. I hope children you have revised the valencies which I showed you in the past video. You should have revised the valencies in your book where they are given. And so the valency of sulfite is 2- children. Then in third step we crisscross the valencies, and when we crisscross the valencies we get valency of sulfite near calcium, which is 2, and the valency of calcium next to sulfite. And whenever there are two elements together, we have to put a bracket and then put the valency outside the bracket. So we have put the valency outside the bracket. So valency of calcium passes on outside the bracket near SO3 on the right hand side. So here both the valencies are same, 2 and 2. And so what do we do children? We cancel these. 2 1s are 2 and 2 1s are 2. So this is how we cancel these valencies, and in the fourth step we get the chemical formula calcium sulfite. Now here there is another example. In the first step we take the positive symbol here, which is chromium, and the negative symbol on the right hand side, which is sulfate. In the second step we put the valency children of chromium. What is the valency children? It is +3. And for sulfate children, what's the valency? It's -2. So when we crisscross the valencies in the third step, we see the valencies exchange, and chromium gets the valency of sulfate, which is 2 on the lower right hand side, and the sulfate gets the valency 3 of chromium. And as I told you, whenever there are two elements, then two or three elements, we put the crisscrossed valency on the right lower side outside a bracket. Then in the fourth step we see that the chemical formula becomes chromium sulfate. This formula is chromium sulfate. Let's see another example children. Here in step 1 we have calcium, which is the positive symbol on the left hand side, and we have hydrogen sulfite on right hand side, which is a negative formula, and here we negative radical. Then in step 2 we put the valency on the right top side of calcium, which is 2+, and for hydrogen sulfite the valency is -1. If you have memorized children, you will remember. Then we in the third step crisscross the valency. So what do we get on crisscrossing? We get valency of hydrogen sulfite near calcium, which is 1, and we get the valency of calcium crisscrossed at the end of HSO3. So HSO3 is whole twice, and in the fourth step we write the formula calcium hydrogen sulfide. So children, this is how we write the chemical formula. Now children, let us see here some rules in naming certain chemical compounds. For example, when we have a chemical compound with a metal and a non-metal, then the metal is written first in the chemical formula and the non-metal is given a suffix as "ide". Now let us see here. In an example, the compound is containing potassium and iodine together. So we put potassium, which is a metal, on the left hand side, and iodine, which is a non-metal, on the right hand side. You see children how we place them? Then the formula becomes potassium iodide, which is written as Ki. So the chemical formula is potassium iodide. We use the suffix "ide" here. Likewise, when we are dealing with two non-metals, then what is the rule of writing the chemical formula? Let's see. In non-metals, we have written side by side and giving a prefix mono, di or tri. These prefixes are given denoting the number of atoms that are there. For example, in the first one, it's dinitrogen oxide. So we put 2 here near nitrogen, and we have oxygen here. And here the oxidation number of nitrogen is 1. Then we see nitrogen monoxide. In nitrogen monoxide, we write as NO, and the oxidation number of nitrogen here is 2. Then we see that dinitrogen trioxide, and this is N2O3, and we see the oxidation number of nitrogen is +3. Then in nitrogen dioxide we have NO2, and the oxidation number of nitrogen is +4. Then in dinitrogen pentoxide we have N2O5, and here the oxidation number of nitrogen is +5. So this is the rule for writing compounds which contain non-metals. Okay, children? So we will conclude this video here. Have a good day, children. Thank you.